And of course, Paul Theron is now joining us for Mad Markets. And Paul, thank you very much for joining us. It was a quick switch. Thank you so much. So MTN, fantastic numbers out today, up around 3% and still up below 140 Rand a share. And please, could you attach your mic once again to your jacket? Thank you so very much. There we go.
Look, I think the thing with MTN, which is interesting to note, is that it's a big global group and everybody was excited about the distributions. So the dividends being higher, the fact that they've done all this capital buyback, huge shift in the business with regard to Nigeria. That's where the big emphasis is going on capital expenditure. Some worrying signs with regard to Iran. I heard you discussing it earlier. Clearly, Iran is a bit of a hot potato globally at the moment. And I see that they reported their numbers there in rials, which is the Iranian currency. As you know, that has plummeted against the rand and the dollar, but they kind of washed it all in the final numbers when they talk rands, because obviously there was a benefit in the rand having strengthened somewhat compared to last year. So all these issues kind of come along. But I remember a couple of years ago when people laughed at me when I said I thought that they would earn 10 Rand a share.
You've been a shareholder of MTN
for a long time. We were invested them originally in our asset management company when they traded at 12 Rand a share. So they're now at 130. Although that sounds fabulous, there are other shares, in fact, which have done a lot better during that period.
Okay, like what are you looking at?
Well, like Aspen, for example.
Well, Aspen is down in today's session despite the positive results. Yes, we know South African numbers weren't fantastic, but Aspen is overall looking good.
Yeah, in summary, we all along felt that the Australia thing was going to be huge. We didn't realize how huge it was going to be and how huge it needed to be, because clearly the South African situation is a lot more messy. Stephen Saad was here earlier putting on a brave face. That's what he always does. He kind of just keeps motoring on. But I think they'd have to concede that there were some disturbing trends there. But it shows you how important in the corporate lifetime of these big companies it is to do sensible acquisitions. Because it's not just steady state operations, is it? It's the aggregation of all these different business units that add up to the final result.
Paul, we knew that Aspen was going to have trouble in South Africa. They had said it before.
Well, but I forgot that, I assumed they would just do fantastically, as they always do.
Paul, you never look at the negative news. What can we say? ADP numbers out of the US, much better than expected, coming in at 216,000 for last month.
Yeah, look, I think that number was more or less in line with what people were looking for.
Well, 208,000 was what people were looking for.
Yeah, so it was like 3,000 more, which in the context of US economy is like such a trivial rounding error.
It's 8,000 more. Can you
in an economy with 150 million workers. I think the important thing though is that it wasn't a negative thing. It wasn't a miss. The big number, as you know, is the NFP number on
non-farm payrolls.
No, but now, of course, they're referring to it as the non-farmville payrolls number, right? To exclude those people who just hang around on Facebook all day. So look, that's the big one. That's Friday. We're all very excited down here because jobs number is very important in the context of people's sentiment with regard to the US economy. And as we know, it's the US economy which is the only thing that counts for the US market, and we all follow Wall Street, so that's all we need to know.
I came across some interesting info today. Brazil growth for last year just at 2.7%.
Yeah, weak.
Industrial production for Jan coming down around 2.1%. So despite the fact that it's part of the BRICS nations, still looking at growth similar to what we see here.
Yeah, but I like Brazil, really. I like Brazil a lot more than Russia and some of the other kind of BRIC countries, because Brazil is very similar to our economy. It has a much bigger financial sector than people realize. It's got a nice big telecommunications and consumer thing. It's got a nice tourism business, which we're involved with as well. Plus, of course, it's got the big iron ore resources and all of that stuff. So it's a nicely balanced economy. They, like us, have all the same dramas in their politics. They fight with each other. They fight about what their foreign policy should be. They fight about what their currency should be at. So all around a fabulous nation. 2.7, that's disappointing. They're busy fighting with FIFA at the moment as well about the World Cup.
Indeed.
It's all happening down there.
FIFA, if I'm not mistaken.
Those FIFA guys.
You
remember what they were like with us? Terrible.
Yes. Thank you, Paul.